Hello everyone, and welcome back to Total War Rome 2. Now I know I have committed a near crime, or maybe in some people's eye, an actual crime, of not covering Rome 2 for too long. It is kind of near criminal, but in my defense, I'm very busy, got a lot going on. Pharaoh was coming up, I also had Warhammer campaigns going. I wanted to play the new Star Trek game. I got a lot of things going down that have made things difficult for me to keep up with everything. However, I'm kind of in the new swing of things. I am streaming all of my single-player content now. And then on the weekends, I'll be recording some battles that I can intersperse with that streaming content throughout the week. So hopefully this next week won't feel like maybe such a big missing gap for most of you who are here for the battle content. Because no, I have not stopped that, even though I'm moving over to streams. It's just a lot easier for me to stream single-player instead of trying to edit all those and record them. In any case, battles do not need to switch any type of content. Let's check out this sweet 3v3 sub-commanders battle we got going on. This is in the Unconquered Sun mod. And we're going to have Nabatea, Iceni, and Parthia. And they are teaming up against another Parthia. And then this is going to be... Crap, why do I get the faction wrong? Saba. So Saba, Parthia, and Seleucids. So we have a couple of desert factions. We have both teams have a Parthia faction, and Parthia is, of course, a very popular pick for missiles, but they're also quite good with cavalry. It looks like the Nabatean player is the cav on this side, and the Saba player is the melee infantry. Seleucids are the cav on the other side. Melee infantry is Iceni over here. So it should be an interesting matchup. Iceni are pretty good in the melee infantry department. They have some cheap options, they have some specialty options, and they have a heavy option with the Chosen Sword Band and the Heroic Nobles. So we have a Druidic Noble General. This is one of their less used but interesting strategic option. The Druidic Nobles can, I believe, inspire the other units around them. Let me make sure I get... Yeah, they have the Chant ability, which can be used to boost morale, charge bonus around them, so that one's pretty important. And then we're going to see the Chosen Sword Band kind of act as a main line. There's going to be sword bands backing them up out on the flanks. Sword bands provide a decent bit of charge and okay for the price, especially when you're looking at sub-commander genre. More is usually better in terms of numbers. Now the Parthian skirmishers on this side, we've got a couple of Eastern slingers, and then behind them we have some Parthian foot archers, and then an elite Persian archer here. It's either been so long since I've seen this unit that I don't recognize it, or it was added in the mod. I'm not 100% sure, but this elite Parthian archer has 150 reigns, so it's going to be quite deadly indeed. I'm looking at missile damage, 35 missile damage, so I wonder if it maybe fights with a spear or something in the secondary. I'm not 100% sure what makes it elite. Its armor is not insane, so it could be accuracy, it could be shots per minute or something. Yeah, it does take an extra shot per minute over the foot archer, so it could just be accuracy and the rate of fire. And then we're going to have, as far as the rest of the Parthian troops, Persian hoplites backing up the mainline infantry with some Eastern spearmen on the flanks. The Parthian general is in a noble horse archer, so additional missile support could be good here. And then we've got the Nabatean noble cavalry. There are two of those, and then camel spearmen over on the left flank, and then it looks like a camel spear and camel archers, royal camel archers, all things. So these are going to be decently armored camel archers. So 5 camel units up front. That is a lot of camels. Camels scare horses. They have some benefit when going headlong into to enemy horses because of that. We do have Eastern slingers up front for the other side's Parthia. We're going to call this the red team. And then over here, blue team. I know there's some yellow banners. I guess that's not something we can fix at the moment. We got 3 Eastern slingers, and then behind them I see 5 more units. That's going to be Parthian foot archers. That is a tremendous amount of skirmish. However, you'll notice that there was hoplites on the other side with the rest of the Parthian money, which means this team's going to have a significant missile advantage, while the other team is going to probably hold some melee advantages in terms of just sheer numbers. There is a single unit of Persian hoplites, and again a noble horse archer for the general. The Seleucids have a Hellenic cataphract general punishing Jot cavalry as the general, and then we've got some Median cavalry. I see 2. It's going to be 3 Medians out here. We've got 2 horse skirmishers on the right side, and looks like another horse skirmisher on the left side, as well as a light cavalry. So mix for the Seleucids, a lot of numbers that they bring to the table. Let's go ahead and check out how this battle unfolds. The home team here, blue team, whatever we're calling them, I think they're going to have to just go for it. They do have the additional camel archers to help make up for some of the numbers, but they are heavily outgunned in terms of range support, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a melee push from the blue team here, rather than sitting still and getting pummeled by 5 foot archers behind 3 slingers. The camels are doing a little bit of, what do you call it, cat and mouse here, trying to bait some charges, look for opportunity. This kind of stuff makes your opponent start to move, makes them start to shift around, and you can look for mistakes, sometimes get the upper hand. The Camel Spearmen, though, taking some fire. Those Eastern Slingers, though, also taking some fire. The Camel Spearmen did charge over here and damaged an Eastern Slinger pretty badly, but are going to take a fair bit of damage themselves. But look at this, it's going to swing around and just kind of ignore these units and continue to disrupt the missile. This is going to really hurt, losing some of those units, but then here comes the melee following it right up. Oof, those Desert Levy getting absolutely trucked by the sword band. The Persian hoplites, again, these are numbers that the other team doesn't have probably when it comes to melee. I didn't cover the Sabine sword, or the Saba sword, which I'm going to call them Sabine. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. But they've got Desert Levy that was leading the way here as chaff, and then behind them they've got mercenary Moscow Marauders and Sabaean swordsmen. Now the Moscow Marauders come with a pretty solid charge for an axe unit. It's actually huge for an axe unit. They have really good attack. Their damage is lower, but it's because so much of it is armor piercing. But in any case, let's go ahead and continue this so you all can see it. So Moscow Marauders would do good against armor, especially if they don't have to take the initial charge from the opposing forces. But look at this, the Desert Levy already collapsing, and the numbers game could prove overwhelming. We'll see what happens, though. This is very, very early in the fight, and things can swing a whole lot in either direction. I've seen it where it looks like the enemy has an advantage or something like that, and it just does not turn out that way. So chant in place now by the Druidic Nobles. Druidic Nobles are getting absolutely savaged by archer fire here, and that is an interesting target for the Parthian foot archers. They want to get that Iceni general out of here so that support is lost. So the strength of those Parthian foot archers being shown here. And the only thing is, though, is that the melee line, let's see how it is. Moscow Marauders outnumbering there. We'll kind of see what happens here. Sabaean swords. These are kind of like Romanesque, of course worse, though, for the Sabaean swords, but in terms of like the damage and attack profile, like low-tier Roman-type units. And then Chosen Sword Band moving in and out. We're seeing a little bit of cycle charging here. The Median cavalry might come in and try and make their presence felt. We got the Hellenic cataphracts pushing this flank. And over here we've got the Nabatean noble cavalry taking on the Median cavalry. Eastern slingers under assault. Here comes another Median cavalry. So a lot of pressure into the skirmishers of the home team here. And they have a lot of cavalry that's kind of away from home here out on this flank, including the Nabatean noble cavalry there. The Median cavalry is going to find some success here against those Parthian foot archers. But this cavalry is now fairly well overextended. We'll see what happens as it pushes back here. The noble horse archer gets caught by Hellenic cataphracts. That is rough for the home team's Parthian commander there. Look at this. The noble swordsman pushing through the middle. Despite what I felt like would have been a melee advantage, we're not seeing a decisive blowout here on the melee line. So it's going to be curious. It looks like there's some de-blobbing going on now to make sure that they can match the numbers here for the Iceni. I think that's a good choice, but look at this. The noble horse archer taking advantage. All this mayhem back here. It's working its way around the flank. Could get into a good position to cause a lot of trouble. And meanwhile, because that cavalry is busy in their own backline, they cannot touch all these Parthian foot archers who are absolutely dumpstering the melee troops right now. So this is going to be interesting indeed. See how this one plays off, because each team kind of has an advantage, and we're going to see whose ends up being the best advantage in the end. Hellenic Cataphract now taking just devastating damage, and the Nabatean noble cavalry pushing back now, pushing those horse skirmishers out of town. There is a noble horse archer back there. Some Parthian foot archers survived. Most of the noble horse archers survived, and these camel archers are mostly still alive as well. Boy, they are feeding it to the Hellenic Cataphracts, who started off strong, but are going to finish with a face full of arrows here. Tremendous amount of bow fire. But now what's happening? How much infantry is left? Well, the Parthian foot archers have eliminated most of the home team's infantry, so that trade of bringing way more firepower and a little less infantry so far has paid off. However, we're starting to see a lot of cavalry left over on the side of the home team, and there is not going to be much to protect all these skirmishers. But remember how much damage and how quickly those skirmishers can cause the damage, and there are still a number of infantry units to protect here. So this is going to be interesting indeed. Look at that, the general, or sorry, that chosen sword band routed with 89 men left, because it was so far ahead of the rest of its troops. That is really amazing here. We've got Conqueror going down now, which was a general ability, probably from the Seleucids. I had to take my guess, and that's actually buffing a lot of the Saba infantry here. Well, because the camel archers are still alive, there's a decent number of skirmishers still available for the home team, but they kind of got savaged in that charge. Whenever you do have that infantry advantage and the other person has the skirmish advantage, you have to find a way to get to those skirmishers. You don't, and especially with bows, they have a pretty good arc of fire. They can start firing over heads, and they can put a lot of shots into key units, and they can cause a lot of damage quickly. They will usually expend their ammunition quickly as well, but if you choose the right targets, it can be devastating. So it's going to be curious to see how much ammunition is left for the skirmishers for Parthia on the red team. And it's also going to be curious to see what happens here in a final assault. Look at these camel archers kind of working their way through the noble horse archer. You have to watch out now, though. It looks like they're potentially coming into range. The Parthian foot archers. I do not see daggers drawn, so we have to assume that these units do have ammunition left. Some of them even have their bows out, which I'm certainly not shocked. I would expect that their ammunition has been depleted a fair bit, but I wouldn't expect it to be empty yet. So the blue team, or the home team here, working from a pretty severe disadvantage and gonna have to try and fight their way back into this one. Look at all this infantry coming out to support. There's bow fire now coming into support too as the camels retreat. They're going to take a little bit of fire from behind, but this gives a good opportunity for the remaining foot archers and eastern slingers to start, putting some fire into the enemy general or infantry here and start to whittle that away. But they'll have to watch out. They certainly won't want to come within line of this full force of skirmishers, or else they're going to die rather rapidly, one would think. The mobility here very much in the favor of the blue team. However, there's a lot of units left for the red team, and just enough mobility that with the wrong moves, they could punish the blue team here for a premature or not so well planned charge. As we take a look at this, we've got archers moving up. Looks like they're trying to get in range. Not 100% what they're trying to get in range of, but they moved up quite a long ways and dropped some fire in the process, so they took some pretty devastating damage there. That elite Persian archer still alive back here, and it looks like the remnants of the infantry here trying to hold off the assault. The red team, who, again, numbers here just going to be absolutely overwhelming. There's the single eastern spearman out here, and Nabatean noble cavalry now moving up that flank. I wonder if their objective maybe now is to try and just absorb the rest of the arrows off this. Maybe hope that the enemy doesn't have enough arrows to finish the job, and then try and use your royal camels to mop this up. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, you just don't have a lot of good options here, because red team is able to defend pretty much every angle of their skirmishers, and by the time you worked around, your skirmishers would probably be able to shoot you as well. Yeah, maybe now it looks like they're trying to pull that infantry far enough away from their fire support here that they can either finish them with missiles or potentially charge them. Charging would be dangerous, though, because every camel that dies with its rider here takes their ammunition with it until you've emptied that ammunition. But trying to finish a unit off here, too, you don't also want to waste ammunition, so that's a pretty good call. They're going to finish off most of the Sabaean swords here. We're after him. That noble swordsman now under fire as well. The eastern spearman was kind of thrown against a flank here. The Moscow Marauders not going to accomplish much. Only a temporary distraction there. If the cavalry of the blue team could make it into the archers of the red team, they could easily crush them, and rather quickly. However, there's still a lot of infantry left, and not all of this cavalry is going to be super stable especially in a prolonged melee with anything that's got any stability here. Look at that. Camel cavalry coming in. It draws the attention of the Median cavalry. We now have a Nabatean cavalry, and oh boy, there's a big charge going on now, and it looks like the cavalry is just going to try and go for the knockout blow on these archers, which honestly can start swinging the power bar rather rapidly, potentially work in the favor of the blue team here. Yeah, you can see that power bar, and it is swinging. It's swinging quickly now. It wouldn't take much to send it back the other direction, but this may just be a play to try and get that stone rolling down the hill here. See if it'll keep on going. Once that cavalry starts raiding in through the skirmishers, one of them routs, it starts to get panicky. It can spread to the others whenever they see the loss of their friends. Like right here, this cavalry also trying to get through. So that is the entire archer line. Gets dissolved there. Now that leaves the infantry alone to face down the remaining cavalry, and you can see that their morale is getting questionable at times here because of all the loss of troops there. There is this single Parthian foot archer that survived the assault. The rest have shattered. And over here, these infantry units chasing after the Nabatean noble cavalry, it's getting a little bit singled out. There's a potential to knock this ball out if the right units get into place. And there goes the red team Parthian commander. Eastern slingers here acting as a fix, while the other units can come and move in as well and try and rear charge those Persian hoplites. And here comes a potential rear charge out here too. If this group over here can hold just long enough to finish this. There's an Inspire, though, coming in for one of the Sabaean swordsmen, trying to hold them in the fight. They can see that rear charge coming. And the Nabatean commander just routed. But the Sabaean swords and Muscat marauders just routed. And this noble swordsman and the Persian hoplite is really all that's left at this point. So the Camels, I believe, have probably delivered a clutch victory here. What looked like a very real defeat there for a while. But it's not over yet. The Persian hoplites have a decent bit of anti-large capability. They're not going to have great leadership, though. So we will see what happens here. This noble horse archer is going to be pretty punishing on the charge and decent in an after-charge melee. I like the use of the slingers here to distract and then bring the cavalry in for full effect. So that the enemy is fixed from both directions. They're going to suffer a charge from the rear penalty here, or attack from the rear, which is going to impact leadership 100%. Well, not necessarily drop it by 100%, but what I'm saying is it is certain to impact leadership in a very bad way for the red team. Look at that, taking the time to come in around behind the Persian hoplite unit. There's some ammunition left. The ammunition's being spent. So a patient finish here to make sure that there's no surprise finishes. But I mean, this is still relatively close, all things considered. But I don't believe these Persian hoplites are going to be able to hold it together. But I've seen weirder things in Total War over the years, so you never know. They do have that hoplite. Well, yeah, the impacts of that charge now coming into play as the mass of those camels really playing a role there. There goes the hoplites. What a close victory here, indeed a Pyrrhic victory. It's an accurate statement. Definitely no questions there. And a great game here from Sol, Magnus, and Alexander up against Ninja Keeper, War, and Vortigern Sauce. All the players here, I feel like, did very well. This was very close. I loved seeing the dynamic play out there between the extra infantry units brought by the home team and the extra skirmisher units brought by the red team. And it was curious to see who was going to come out on top there. And honestly, the answer was kind of both, right? Like, so the red team's skirmishers did do what they were supposed to. They just didn't quite have enough left over after that cavalry fight to protect those. But that was a dominant victory for the skirmishers. The red team, however, goes all the way to the end. And I guess in this case, it wasn't over until the camels sung. So that was a good one indeed. Thanks to Sol for sending this over. If you all enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and go down to the comments and tell these players thanks. If you want to go play some with them, I do have a link in the description to the Gathering Stone Discord. Fun to play with these guys. In fact, speaking of all the live streaming I'm doing, I don't know when yet, but I will try to live stream some of these sub-commander battles on one of my live stream nights eventually, so keep an eye out for that. I'll try and coordinate that with Sol. Anyway, like I said, hope you all enjoyed this one. See you soon. HeirofCarthage, out.